In the months leading up to the 2022 NFL Draft, talk of the Philadelphia Eagles using one of their multiple first-round picks on a wide receiver was constant. The team had spent a top 60 pick on a receiver in each of the past 3 years, but with two of those selections indisputably whiffing, the position was still a sore spot of need. But as the top 4 wideouts went off the board over a span of 5 picks before the Eagles' selection, Philly pivoted, trading up for monster of a man Jordan Davis. But they weren't content to let the receiver room go unaddressed. Instead of trying their hand at another rookie, the Eagles decided to trade for a proven commodity this time, A.J. Brown of the Tennessee Titans. In acquiring the fourth-year wideout, Philadelphia now has a true number 1 receiver on their roster, one who is primed for a monster season. Now, I personally would already classify A.J. Brown as an elite wide receiver in the NFL, but most people who solely look at box score volume numbers seem to have him firmly in the very good tier. Sure, he's one of just 8 wide receivers this century to eclipse the 1,000-yard mark in each of his first 2 seasons in the league, but his base numbers won't leap off the page at you, as he barely crossed that barrier each time. But trust me when I say he is truly among the league's best. You just have to look deeper, as injuries and offensive schemes are all that have held Brown back so far. Don't believe me? Ask Pro Football Focus. Only 2 players have finished in the top 10 of PFF grading among receivers in each of the past 3 years. Brown and Davante Adams, who is perhaps the best receiver in football. Brown was 9th in his rookie season, 3rd in 2020 with an elite 90.1 grade, and 7th this past year despite missing 4 games and being banged up in others. Brown's overall 91.1 receiving grade since 2019 is 4th among all wideouts. So if Brown is as dominant as PFF says, why again do his box score numbers look so standard? Well, for one, Brown missing 6 games hasn't helped, but it's mostly because of the Titans' insistence on running 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. In 2021, Tennessee ranked 26th in pass attempts, which was a huge step up from where they were the previous 2 years, as they placed 30th in 2020 and 31st in 2019, failing to hit 500 pass attempts each time. Now, granted, Brown's new team in the Eagles ranked 32nd in pass attempts last season, as the rushing attack led by Jalen Hurts was best in the league, so Brown likely still won't truly explode in 2022, but there is reason for optimism. For one, Brown and Hurts go way back. The 2 best friends speak every day regardless of football, and Hurts even tried recruiting Brown to Alabama when he came out of high school. They always joked about playing together, and now it is reality. Trust among teammates is an underrated aspect of football, but it is especially important for a quarterback and receiver. In fact, Brown's trust with Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill was a huge part of his success in Tennessee. Facing intense pressure on a 3rd and 7 in a big win over Kansas City last year, Tannehill just threw one up to Brown on a go route, trusting his receiver to track the ball over his shoulder and make a tough catch in tight coverage. With Hurts, there is reason to believe that trust factor will be even more evident. Additionally, the Eagles have stocked up on future draft picks and have surrounded Hurts with weapons in an effort to determine if he is really their long-term guy this year. Thus, it would be wise for them to open up the passing game a bit more to see what all he can do. If the Eagles rank 32nd in pass attempts once again, something has gone wrong. And Brown is the perfect wide receiver for a quarterback looking to grow as a passer, because he can literally do it all. The title of this video is Why A.J. Brown Will Dominate in Philly, but truth be told, a video like this would have been made regardless of where he ended up, because he's the type of receiver who can dominate anywhere. Yards per route run is one of the most stable and predictive metrics for wide receiver play, and it shows just what kind of company Brown has been keeping. He finished 3rd in the statistic in 2019, behind only Michael Thomas in his historic year and Stephon Diggs. The next year, he was 3rd once again, behind only Davante Adams and Justin Jefferson. His nagging injuries last year dropped him all the way to 6th place. Brown, Adams, and Tyreek Hill are the only receivers with a mark of 2.0 or better in each of the past 3 years. Even if Brown's box score numbers seem lackluster in 2022, his efficiency stats will assuredly not be so. While he's a plus in everything though, his greatest strength lies in his run after the catch ability. According to PFF, Brown forced 17 missed tackles in his Pro Bowl 2020 season, which was 4th among wide receivers. Brown also led the NFL in yards after catch per reception in both 2020 with a 6.2 mark and in his rookie season of 2019 when he put up an average of 8.9, which is the 4th highest mark for any player with 70 or more targets since PFF began tracking the stat in 2006. Next Gen Stats calculates a player's yak above expectation, and Brown was the best in the stat in 2019, and he was also second in 2020. His 226-pound frame gives him the strength to run over defensive backs and create that valuable yak with pure power. He's like a running back in the open field with how he trucks through tacklers, but he also has the speed and agility to worm his way around defenders and outrace them in the open field. Brown scored on a 73-yard play against the Steelers in 2020 on a simple slant route because of his pure explosiveness. Most receivers here would catch the ball, maybe pick up a first down, and get tackled by the safety. But Minkah Fitzpatrick underestimates Brown's explosiveness and whiffs, and from there, it's a cakewalk to the end zone for Brown. In his time in the NFL, arguably no receiver has been better at creating splash plays than Brown. He has 10 receptions of 50 yards or longer in his career, which is the most in the league during that time period. And 7 of those plays have gone for scores, also the best in the league. He also has the 3rd best yards per reception mark since 2019. He just makes plays. His physicality also plays a huge part in that big playability. Another crossing route here against the Bears, and Brown makes a tough catch while immediately shaking off a tackle from the safety, and with zero hesitation, spins around to find the open space, picking up an extra 25 yards or so in the process. The ball was high from Tannehill, but Brown adjusted to it easily to make the grab. Receivers as good as A.J. Brown are accuracy erasers, which will surely be beneficial to Jalen Hurts, as accuracy is often cited as his biggest weakness. Titans passers had a 132.2 passer rating when targeting Brown in 2020, which was 3rd best in the NFL. That's another area where Brown's physicality shows itself, in tight coverage situations. He may not be a towering monster of receiver standing at just 6'1", but Brown is still able to outleap defensive backs on jump balls with regularity. In 2020 alone, he had 15 contested catches, which was the 5th most in the NFL. But it wasn't just volume either, as his 57.7% rate on such targets was the 4th best in the league among receivers with at least 20 contested situations. Elite body positioning and strong hands can go a long way. A common knock you will hear on receivers who excel at contested targets is that they are in those situations so often because they can't get open. But I assure you that that is not the case with A.J. Brown whatsoever, as he is also one of the league's premier route runners. Per Matt Harmon's Reception Perception project, Brown successfully got open at an above-average rate on 8 of the 10 routes on the standard route tree in 2020, with particularly high rates when running curls, posts, slants, and digs. Watch this play from a 2020 game at Indianapolis. He's running a deep slant, but at the snap, he immediately sprints outside to get the corner's hips pointed that way. Ordinarily from here, the receiver would just cut inside to complete the slant, but Brown is patient with it. Instead, he stays running vertically for a couple of steps to keep the corner off balance before finally cutting to open field with even more separation. But not only does Brown excel on all kinds of routes, he also dominates all types of coverages. Circling back to reception perception, Brown shined against both man and press. In 2020, he had the 4th best success rate against press coverage, and he was even better versus man, where he ranked 3rd. His 79% success rate graded out in the 97th percentile of receivers ever charted by reception perception. The PFF grades and yards per route run figures also back up Brown's excellence in these areas. Lastly, not only can Brown get open on any route against any kind of coverage, but he can also do so at any area of the field. In his rookie season, he was top 7 in yards per route run on routes run short 0 to 9 yards, intermediate 10 to 19 yards, and deep 20 plus yards, the last of which he led the league in. The following year, he led the league in yards per route run on short routes by over a full yard. He ranked 12th on intermediate routes in 2020 and 8th in 2021. So he finished 1st on short routes one year, 1st on deep routes one year, and he has been top 12 on intermediate routes every year of his career. Say it with me now, y'all. All-around receiver. The addition of such a caliber of receiver should also vastly help out last year's first-round pick Devontae Smith as well. He had a solid rookie season, but with Brown drawing all of the CB1s, Smith should see much better opportunities in 2022. Now, you may have noticed that I haven't touched much on Brown's most recent 2021 season when discussing him so far. And that's mostly because it's hard to even take anything from that season because of the litany of things Brown had to deal with. From the preseason through the postseason, Brown suffered 2 knee strains, a hamstring strain, a chest injury, a calf pull, and food poisoning. Call him injury prone all you want, which sure, there might be a little bit of that, but I'd chalk a lot of what happened last year up to simple bad luck. That said, what I do take from Brown's 2021 season is how naturally dominant he looked when he was healthy. Despite missing 4 games and being in and out of the lineup, Brown had 4 games with 130 plus receiving yards last year, including the postseason. Cooper Kupp was the only player to have more, and oh yeah, by the way, Kupp had the most prolific receiving season ever. One of Brown's 130-yard games came just days after being activated from injured reserve after his chest injury that sidelined him for a month. The Titans had lost 3 out of 4 games and desperately needed to get back on track against the 49ers. To do so, they made their number 1 wideout a bona fide target hog. Ryan Tannehill only threw the ball 29 times, but Brown racked up 16 of those targets with no other Titan eclipsing 3. He converted a 3rd and 3 in the first half by getting open against zone with a sharp cut on and out and showed off exquisite footwork on the sideline. He converted a 3rd and 10 on the next drive on a comeback route. It's one thing to run a solid route, but it's another to be smart about field position. Brown runs the route 12 yards because he knows he has to give room to come back to the ball and still convert the first down. As Tennessee made their comeback from down 10 in the second half, Brown played a huge part. He converted a 3rd and 7 and another 3rd and 10 on their opening drive. The biggest play came on a 3rd and 23 at the end of the 3rd. Tannehill knew he had a free play with a defender jumping off sides, so on the broken play, he decided to just throw it up to his number 1 guy and trust him to come down with it. In a true jump ball with Niners rookie Ambry Thomas all over him, the stronger man won. Not even 2 minutes later, Brown converted yet another 3rd down, this time breaking a tackle and spinning to fall ahead of the marker. In all, Brown converted a whopping 6 3rd downs in the game. So yeah, on top of everything else discussed, the dude is also super clutch and comes up when it matters most. Finally, he capped it all off with the touchdown that gave Tennessee its first lead of the game. He had Josh Norman guessing just long enough with some subtle head fakes to get open on a post in the end zone. Brown finished the contest with 11 catches for 145 yards and the 1 score. And after all that, if you're really still not convinced of Brown's greatness, just look at the last football game he played. In the divisional round loss to the Bengals, Brown undeniably did his part, putting up a 5 for 142 in 1 performance. In the second quarter, he got open for a 41-yard reception with some explosiveness off the line, easily batting away Chidobe Awuzie's hand fighting, and then completely losing him with the swift cut right after leaning left. The explosive cut even left all-pro safety Jesse Bates stumbling. Even on simple plays like this short speed route, Brown gets the most out of it. He should have been tackled after 2 yards, but he picks up 8 thanks to his fancy moves after the catch. Brown also had another 40-yard grab in the contest, on which Awuzie allowed him to get too close into his personal space, which made Awuzie, do this. And Brown's final touchdown as a Titan was simply a thing of beauty. He gets Awuzie to bite slightly on the stop and go, and again wins the hand fight battle to get just enough separation at the pylon, to where he's able to turn outside to where Tannehill lays the ball into his breadbasket. Brown's final reception as a Titan came on a broken play, as Tannehill had to scramble out of the pocket, and Brown got to play some backyard ball just to find the open space of field where his quarterback could find him. This is something Jalen Hurts can look forward to. Expect to see plays like this a lot, Eagles fans. Assuming health, A.J. Brown is pretty easily a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. And the injury concerns have largely been nicks here and there, nothing serious. More so just bad luck in my opinion. Again, with a team that runs the ball first, second, and third, Brown's box score numbers may not leap off the page at you, but just know that when it matters, he will come through each and every time. With the acquisition of a truly elite wide receiver in A.J. Brown, along with their other offseason additions, the Eagles have a great shot at nabbing the NFC East crown in 2022.